2,400 people online asking questions. There's going to be a lot of questions, but let's hope there will be. So yeah, so as I said, my name is Ted Schönbeck. I'm the Nordic CTO for Google. And really what I want to do in the coming 25 minutes or so is to give you a crash course a little bit into what generative AI is all about, a little bit kind of the technology and the background, but mostly I will talk about a lot of examples, a lot of business examples to get your heads going and start to think about how you can use this in your own businesses. And as a fun side note, every picture in this presentation I created myself using generative AI, so you can think about that if you think some of them look beautiful. But to kick it all off, I just want to show you a short video. This is a fraction of generative AI, but I think it serves a good purpose so that everyone has kind of a similar understanding of how generative AI can be used. And in this specific video, we're showcasing what it would mean from a day-to-day collaborative perspective. So if we kick off the video. Pretty cool stuff. We've been using this this is globally available now, but obviously we've been using this inside Google for 6-7 months or so. And I think, depending on your style, it really is a productivity booster. My favorite part really is, the summarization of meetings you couldn't attend. And it's just an interesting side note. When we announced this internally 6 months ago, in the beginning, a lot of people, fewer and fewer people turned up for meetings because it was easier just to read the summary. But then the people who went to the meetings gave all the tasks to the people who didn't show up, and then it kind of went back up again. So it's just interesting to see how technology changes behaviors. But maybe the most important thing here is, what is the underlying technology that makes this possible? Well, obviously, and the hype word of 2023, large language models. These amazingly powerful machine learning algorithms trained on almost every data set on the planet. But really what sets large language models apart from other types of AI is three things. And the first one, and this sounds more scary than it is, it has what is referred to as emergent abilities, which means it can do things it was not trained to do. If you look at other AI technologies, you train it to do one single thing, and if you want it to do something else, you need to completely retrain it. Large language models are much more flexible. But more importantly, they have an amazing ability to understand human language, so it's a lot easier for us to interact with them. You don't need to be a mathematician or a programmer to use them. But maybe the most important thing, the ability to analyze data, to find the patterns in huge data sets and truly understand data. And when you combine these three, you get a magic potion for building transformative solutions. Now, before we dive into some of the solutions, a short history of large language models. So back in 2017, Google created the first one called the Transformer architecture, which Google open sourced. And today, every large language model is built on Google Transformer. It's the T in ChatGPT. It's built on that architecture. Since then, Google has done a lot of advancement in this, and today we use large language models in Google Search, in our cloud products, and many other products. But a central part for us around this is responsibility and ethicalness. Constantly asking ourselves, are we using this? Are we implementing this in the right way? Is it safe? Is it secure? Is it social beneficiary? Is it unbiased? Is it scientific and accurate? That's a super important part in everything we do around generative AI. Not just in our services, but also in the tools we provide to you, so that when you use this technology, you can make sure you are doing it in a responsible way. So if large language models have been around for years, what's the big hype? Well, obviously, the big hype is generative AI powered by large language models. And quite often when I'm out talking about this, there's always someone, afterwards comes up to me and says, Ted, take it easy, it's just a chatbot. It's not, okay? I turned 50 years old 1 month ago. I know this will be the biggest technology shift of my lifetime. This will change industries, businesses, and societies. It will transform the way you build and run and scale products, how you interact and serve customers, how we teach, how we learn. Within just a few years, this will be a central part of every business process. So getting it right is going to be very important. So what is it then? Well, obviously close to what large language models are, but we asked our own Bard to get the definition. So generative AI is this type of artificial intelligence that can find complex patterns in data sets and can generalize from that, and here comes the magic, and generate completely new content, text, videos, images, even programming code, based on simple human prompts. That's really the magic thing here. How many of you have tried Bard? So Bard is like ChatGPT, but on real-time data, not 2-year-old data. I rest my case. So go play around with it. It's amazing. It combines images, YouTube, Google Maps, Google Flights, Google Hotels, available in 40 languages. Go try it out. Really fun stuff. Now, as cool as Bard is, it's important to understand that it's a consumer service. And we think there's a big difference between consumer use of generative AI and enterprise use. So as a consumer, you want to plan a trip to New York or write a poem to your wife. As a business, you want to have this creative power, but you need all the boring stuff on the left side, like control of your data, control of your IP, control of cost, making sure it's accurate with support, having the ability to integrate it into your tools and workflows. Otherwise, it's never going to fly. So really important when you start thinking about this is making sure you get an enterprise class version of any type of generative AI. Now, before I'll give you some of these examples, there's one area where Google takes a very clear stand, and I think the industry is slowly following us on this. We've been doing this for quite many years. We are convinced there will not be one large language model to rule them all, simply because different models have different strengths, different weaknesses, different cost. Let me give you an example. If you were to go to Google Search and you ask, what's the capital of Denmark? Or if you go to ChatGPT and you ask, what's the capital of Denmark? ChatGPT consumes roughly 40 times more compute power to deliver Copenhagen. And that's not sustainable in any meaning of the word sustainability. So getting the right model for the right use case at the right cost is going to be key when you scale this out into your different use cases and processes in your organizations. The way Google is doing this, we are building this currently around a really cool platform, a really cool large language model called Palm 2, Pathway Language Model. It's very elastic and dynamic, so we can build a lot of different versions of it. And I want to give you 2 simple examples, or 2 very complex examples. The first one is MedPalm. So about 10 months ago, we took a version of Palm and we trained it exclusively on medical data. And already back in January, it passed the US doctor's exam. It got 65%, you need to get 60%. But just before the summer, it reached 85%, putting it among the 10% best doctors in the US. Now, this is not about replacing doctors, but it's a powerful productivity tool for healthcare providers. And just a few weeks ago, we released this to the world. So you can now start building generative AI use cases for healthcare securely and safely. Another example, SecPalm. We took another model and we trained it exclusively on mitigating and detecting security attacks. And now we have an amazing model that can do that, to find those anomalies in behaviors or traffic so you can protect yourselves. And this way we can build a lot of different versions of models, different sizes to go do this. Now the smart people in the audience will say, it says not one LLM to rule them all. And here he goes on ranting about this Palm 2 thing. Well, that's the beauty, because in the Google platform, we're offering more than 100 different models from ourselves, from our partners like Meta's Llama 2, and more than 40 open source models. So you can really pick and choose the model you like. Now, let's turn over to talk about some of the key use cases. So this is another question I get quite often. So Ted, which industry is the perfect fit for generative AI? Well, the good news is all of them. Maybe slightly more than in the beginning now for retailers, because there's so much use cases in retail where you can fix stuff, but overall for any industry. I'm going to give you 9 examples, and obviously there are thousands just to get your heads going. But pretty much you can divide it into 3 areas. About how this changes your day-to-day job, empowering your organization, about developer excellence, this is a huge thing, and the last part, next generation type of chatbots. And we should actually come up with a new name for chatbots, because everyone hates chatbots. These chatbots are so much better, so we should come up with a new name. But let's start with empower your organization. I'm going to give you a few examples here. The first example, any organization these days have a huge amount of data that you're trying to use and understand. And you probably bought some kind of BI tool, and you're trying to create dashboards that everyone hates, trying to kind of surface insights out of this. And it's hard, right? But with generative AI, we completely transform the way you interact with data, because you now interact with natural language. You talk to your data. Imagining you're a sales manager and you're preparing for a review. You just talk to the data. Could you provide me with the 5 biggest opportunities in Q4? Could you tell me which products sold the best in Q4 in the US? Which 3 products had the best margins? And from that, creating a presentation. We had a use case just a few weeks ago with a customer who had 1,000 deep customer satisfaction interviews. 3-4 pages per person. They had all of that data, and it takes weeks to kind of summarize and understand that data. Or you put it into generative AI model and you talk to the service. Could you summarize the key findings for me? What are the main complaints in the age group 40 to 50? Could you give me one suggestion on something to fix in the age group 50 to 60? Surfacing insights, democratizing insights so that anyone can understand data in a completely new way. Another example, obviously, is content creation, like I've done in this presentation, advertising, creative contexting, pictures, visuals, and the collaboration aspects that I showed you in the initial video. For spreadsheets, for creative visuals, for creating, presentations, things like that. Now, this is still early days, but quite recently, Harvard Business Review came out with this report analyzing the effect of day-to-day collaboration of generative AI, and I think the numbers are breathtaking. For high performers, 17% productivity boost. 17%. Could you think of some other technology that would boost people's productivity with 17%? And if you're a low performer or just new or junior people, 43%. It's insane numbers from a productivity perspective. Moving on to another use case, which we are building a lot of right now, which is enterprise search. How many of you love going to the intranet to try find something? You get goosebumps in the morning if you know you have to go to the intranet, right? That's how bad it is. You search for something, you get 200 slides or documents, and you need to check those documents. Imagining instead going to the intranet, and there's a chatbot there who read through the entire intranet and knows it by heart. And when you ask a question, it answers the question. And might tell you can read more about it in this document. This is transformative from a productivity perspective. And very, very easy to achieve. Simple technology to solve a very complex problem. Last example, contract and legal negotiations. Simply put, large language models are built to make complex text understandable, which is kind of what lawyers do. So they are amazingly well equipped to help you build better contracts, understand contracts, what's the weakness in this contract, what's the liability in this contract, understanding RFPs. Should we bid on this RFP or not? Well, we won these 20, we lost these 20. Based on that, the AI can answer, yes, we should, or we shouldn't, or these are the weaknesses, these are the strengths. This is an amazing technology for help people work with complex contractual legal texts. Moving over to developer excellence, which I think is the one where we've seen the first early stage success stories already. Being a developer these days is difficult. Bringing new software, new applications to market fast without security breaches. One of the most common attack vectors for any hacker is exploiting vulnerabilities in code. That's the easiest way to attack you. And there you are as a developer, new features faster, at the same time secure, hard stuff to do. And actually it turns out that the average developer spends, between 30 minutes to an hour every day trying to solve a complex problem in coding. And since the pandemic, most of them are not sitting in the same room anymore. We're hiring developers from across the planet. So you have these silos of getting help. Imagining having a super smart developer sitting on your shoulder as you're writing your code. Help you write your code. Help me write the binary search function in Python. Complete this code. Optimize this code. Test this code. Explain this code. When you're a new developer coming in, first 6 months is all about understanding how we write code. Now we just mark an area and say, please explain what is this code doing. Document this code. Every developer hates documenting their code. Now the AI can help you do that. And you can even train the model on your code base so it learns the way you prefer to write code. On average, in testing, we're seeing between 40 to 50% productivity boost for developers. And when we say productivity, it's not just about doing it faster, it's about doing it better, with quality, optimized code that's more efficient to run with fewer bugs. Last but not least, the chatbots. And as I said, we really should come up with a new name. And let me give you an example. One of my favorite examples. We're building this right now with a Swedish company that provides global consumer products. Imagining having a customer service bot that read through every product manual you have, knows it by heart. That read through every product documentation you have, knows it by heart. That read through every prior customer support case in the history of your company, knows it by heart. Can connect the three, and you can have a natural language discussion with it. It's very hard for a human agent to get to that level. This is transformative technology to do this. We did an example just a few weeks ago with one of the largest pharmacy chains in Sweden, where we took their online e-commerce webpage, trained it to create a new conversational bot. Takes 3 minutes to do, 3 minutes to do. We put it next to their current agent, which is a human agent, and we created 40 scenarios together with them, and we tried it. The virtual bot completely destroyed the human. Answering questions 30, 40 times faster, more to the point, more summarized, more clear. The human bot actually answered one of the questions wrong. Takes 3 minutes to do. Well, 3 minutes to fix it, and then about 15 minutes to crunch through the web page and learning it by heart, and then you're ready to go. Another example is root cause analysis. Let's say you're providing some kind of service, software as a service, online banking, an application, networking infrastructure. When things go south, the first 6, 8, 12 hours, 24 hours goes into understanding what went wrong. Crunching through alarms, crunching through log files, mapping that to documentation. Imagining having an AI that can crunch through those alarms, all of those log files, map it to documentation, earlier support cases, and explaining to you what went wrong and suggesting on how to fix it. This will speed up getting services back online massively. Another example, which I think we will see very soon, is any type of user assistant in applications, in online apps, but probably the most ones we will see very soon is online e-commerce. Imagining going to an online e-commerce page to buy something, and you're being greeted by an AI that talks you through your different options. Let's say you bought a sofa, and now you want to buy a couch table to go with it. You talk to the AI, and AI goes, could you take a picture of the sofa in your living room? You do that, you upload it. It will start to create images based on that with all the different sofas they offer, so you can pick and choose and see what it will actually look like in your living room, all the way to closing the transaction, reserving that particular table in the store closest to you. This will be a better experience than going to physical stores. Last example, offline assistance. Now, offline for a few different reasons. One of the reasons is maybe for compliance, but probably more the fact that if the internet goes down, you still want this to work. This is the starting point for the science fiction dream of talking to your machines, building this into machines. We are working with car manufacturers, white good manufacturers, building these assistants. Imagining in your washing machine, you throw your clothes into the washing machine, you close the door, and you talk to the machine. Mixed colors, not very dirty, would be great if you're done in 40 minutes, and off it goes. Talking to your car, Could you do this? I'm trying to find in the menus, I can't find it. Talk to it. Could you reserve a service for me? I need to switch my tires. Talking to machines, it's happening right now. Now, you could do all of these use cases with one huge, amazing large language model, and it would work beautifully. It would be expensive, and you would spend a lot of carbon footprint for no use. So finding the right models for these use cases is important. Now, as I said, with Palm 2, we're offering a lot of models, but with Palm 2, specifically for our customers, we built 4 different sizes: pre-built, pre-trained, pre-optimized. The smallest one, called Gecko, is 1/5,000th the size of GPT-4, 1/5,000. But it's amazing at solving isolated problems. It's so small you can run it offline. If you're building a chatbot based on 12 PDFs for HR, Gecko will do that amazingly well. You don't need a large language model that can write a master thesis, 300 pages, about the future of fusion power if you're solving a small problem. And then we walk our way up the otter, bison, all the way up to unicorn when you need that huge model for making true actual magic. The way we're bringing this to our customers then is in 2 ways, really. One way is really we want to democratize AI. So one way is for all of the users. We call this Duet. This is available in Workspace, as I showed you in the video, but also available inside Google Cloud. So any user of Google Cloud now have this super powerful context-aware assistant sitting on their shoulder. Like a cybersecurity pro helping you secure your applications, a data analytics pro helping you surface insights and writing SQL code, or an SRE engineer helping you build more available applications. Or in Vertex AI, which is for the builders. This is where we bring all of our stuff together in one platform for you to build generative AI solutions. And a central part of Vertex AI is something we call Model Garden. That's where we provide more than 100 different models for people to pick and choose and play around with. Now, we're getting close to the end here. Another area where Google really takes a clear stand from a strategic perspective is around, we think this technology is so transformative, you shouldn't just consume it. You should make sure you innovate with it, right? And if you look at a lot of the offerings out there today, it looks a little bit like this. You have this one single black box large language model that you're consuming from, and it's working really, really well. The problem is the innovation happens somewhere else. Our view really is that we want to bring you in to innovate together with us. We call this open shared innovation, and it starts with Model Garden, more than 100 models. And you can pick any of those models, and you can retrain it on your data. And out comes what we call an adapter model. Now, that model is yours. No one else in the world has that model. That's your unique differentiator, your intellectual property that you can use inside your platforms or surface as APIs and sell. And all of a sudden, you're innovating with this technology instead of just consuming it. Now, to summarize a little bit, for us, enterprise generative AI and successful implementation of generative AI comes down to a few important aspects. Choice, having a breadth of models to pick and choose from. Large language models come and go, platforms remain. So don't bet on the large language model, bet on the platform. I get this question all the time. So Ted, which model will be the best 6 months from now? I have no clue. I know it's not Palm 2. I know it's not GPT-4. Maybe this amazing model coming out of Google called Gemini, probably something from the open source world. Doesn't matter, because you're not betting on a model, you're betting on a platform. A platform that's integrated into the entire infrastructure, that's secure and compliant, that will continuously offer you innovation with new models coming out, running on top of an infrastructure that's scalable and sustainable. And I think we will talk more about sustainability in the panel. So, to summarize a little bit, this is probably the biggest technology shift in the history of your companies. Don't fear it, embrace it and get it right. Start testing it, start playing around it. Yes, you will run into use cases where this doesn't make sense, but I promise you will run into so many use cases where you will be amazed. We have a lot of different workshops to help you get started. We have a lot of content online. On YouTube, go to YouTube, search Google Cloud Generative AI, and there's 60, 70 videos showcasing a lot of cool different use cases. But most importantly, we put together 10 free generative AI trainings from very high level all the way down to hands-on stuff if you want to get started. So start playing around with this technology as soon as you possibly can. Thank you.
Thanks, Ted. That was really interesting. Thank you so much. We had a couple of questions from the audience, and we wanted to ask, first of all, in regards to environmental impact. What is Google's strategy around minimizing environmental impact of data centers and compute for generative AI?
So, excellent question. I think we get this question a lot. I think it's kind of a three-phased approach. The first one starts with picking the right model. So don't pick a huge model because it follows that. The more compute, the more cost, the more carbon footprint. So picking the right model for the right use case is the first point. The second point is having an efficient infrastructure. Google has been building our own AI chips for many, many years that are super efficient, especially on training, but also on serving. And then the last part is coming back to what kind of energy do you feed into your data centers to do this? Google are building these tensor clusters across the planet that has 24/7 green energy into them. So knowing that any use of generative AI will be fed and powered by sustainable energy. So I think there's a multi-level approach to it.
Excellent. Sounds good. What about another question? There was a question regarding language support in LLMs. So if you're not a native English speaker, what about serving in other languages?
So I think that's the beauty with large language models. They are very, very good at understanding languages. That's what they do. Palm 2, the one I talked about, has a native support for more than 100 languages, including all the Nordic languages. And I think if you go to Bard, I can just tell you, it's 10 times better than Google Translate. It's amazing at translating any type of text from German to English, to Finnish, to Danish, to Swedish. So more than 100 languages. Dialects, I think we talked about this before. Dialects is hard because there's not a lot of data to support it. But other than that, I think the multi-language support is amazing.
All right, thank you.
I think that's what we have for now.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next speaker.